All right, so get this. Jersey just dropped their first ever Deferred Prosecution Agreement.
Really is quite fascinating.
It's like a legal thriller, right?
Eh?
Straight out of a movie.
Yeah, yeah. This DPA is a brand new tool they've got over in Jersey in their legal arsenal, and it offers a different way to deal with corporate crime.
Okay.
So instead of dragging a company through the mud, a long, drawn-out trial,
Right.
a DPA lets them basically strike a deal.
Okay.
If they own up to their mistakes,
Right.
cooperate fully, and take steps to fix the problem,
Uh-huh.
they can avoid a conviction.
So it's kind of like a plea bargain for businesses.
Exactly.
Okay. And in this case, we're talking about a company called Afex Offshore Jersey Limited.
Right.
And they got themselves tangled up in some serious anti-money laundering issues. So
Big time.
what exactly did Afex do?
Imagine someone walking into your business with a suitcase,
Okay.
bursting at the seams with 3 million euros in cash.
Yeah.
Now, you'd probably have some questions, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Afex didn't. They basically just said, sure, no problem, and took the money without doing their due diligence.
Wait, hold on. Back up a sec. Due diligence, for those of us who aren't,
Sure.
financial whizzes.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Okay, think of it like buying a used car,
Yeah.
right? You wouldn't just hand over your hard-earned cash without checking its history.
Yeah, definitely not.
Due diligence is essentially the same thing in the financial world.
Okay.
It's all about verifying where the money's coming from,
Right.
who's behind it,
Yeah.
making sure everything's legit.
Okay, so Afex skipped that crucial step.
They did.
And to make matters even more head-scratching, the source says they only pocketed a measly £12,000 in fees for this transaction.
Wow.
Talk about high stakes for a tiny reward.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting. This blatant disregard for basic checks,
Yeah.
it's a huge red flag.
Right.
Goes against Jersey's money laundering order.
Right.
Think of this as their main weapon against financial criminals trying to hide dirty money on the island.
Okay, so they messed up big time.
They did.
Did they manage to, wiggle out of any consequences?
Not exactly.
Okay.
They were hit with a pretty hefty fine, £408,000.
Ooh.
Now, that might sound like they got off easy to some people,
Right.
but it's actually less than what they would have faced if they'd gone to trial.
Interesting. And the source also mentions that Afex actually self-reported their wrongdoing.
That's right.
Do you think that played a role in the outcome?
Absolutely. Imagine you accidentally break your neighbor's window, right? You could sneak away and hope they don't notice,
Okay.
or you could own up to it.
Yeah.
Self-reporting is like owning up to that broken window.
Okay.
It shows a willingness to take responsibility
Right.
and cooperate. In Afex's case, it likely contributed to a less severe penalty.
So even in the world of finance, honesty is the best policy, it seems.
It really is.
But this wasn't just some faceless corporation making a mistake, was it?
No, it wasn't.
The source that we're looking at points the finger. Right.
At the actions of specific people within Afex.
That's a really crucial point. Corporate culture and individual accountability, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
In this case, 2 Afex employees.
Okay.
Really, they were the driving force behind this whole mess.
Okay.
And they seem to prioritize potential future business deals over doing what was legally and ethically right to prevent money laundering.
Wow.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about, the ripple effects of individual choices.
It does.
Especially in a sensitive field like finance.
Absolutely.
Did those employees face any repercussions?
Well, the source tells us that those key staff members, they're no longer with the company.
Okay.
And Afex has done a major overhaul of their compliance procedures and internal controls
Right.
to try and prevent future violations.
So it sounds like they're trying to turn over a new leaf.
They are.
But this whole situation does raise a big question.
Right.
How common are these kinds of failings?
Yeah.
Are there other companies out there unknowingly breaking anti-money laundering regulations? That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And this DPA is like a shot across the bow for the entire financial industry in Jersey.
Right.
They're making it crystal clear that they're serious about enforcing these rules.
Yeah. It's definitely a wake-up call.
It is.
Companies can't afford to be complacent when it comes to these regulations.
No.
But there's another layer to this story that really piqued my interest.
Okay.
Remember how Afex relied on another company, IQEQ, for their due diligence checks? Yes.
That little detail.
Yeah, that detail is crucial. And it turns out the Jersey Financial Services Commission,
Okay.
or JFSC, they'd already flagged IQEQ for some regulatory issues back in July 2022.
Wow.
They even issued a public statement
Oh, wow.
and a fine against them.
So Afex was basically trusting a company
Right.
that already had like a few strikes against its name.
Sure.
That seems like a pretty risky move, to say the least.
It certainly raises questions about FX's own risk assessment process.
You'd think they would have spotted those red flags before handing over such a significant responsibility.
For sure.
Like, didn't they even consider the potential consequences of partnering with a company
Right.
that's already been publicly reprimanded by the regulator?
It's almost like they were so eager to close this deal
It seems that way.
that they turned a blind eye to those warning signs.
Potentially, yeah. And it brings us to a critical point about DPAs.
Okay.
They are not a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Okay.
They're designed to hold companies accountable
Yeah.
and deter future misconduct.
Right.
This isn't just a slap on the wrist.
Okay.
It's a serious measure with real consequences.
So what kind of ripple effects do you think this DPA will have on Jersey's financial landscape? Is this a sign of things to come?
Well, this case definitely sets a clear precedent.
Okay.
It shows that Jersey's committed to enforcing anti-money laundering regulations.
Right.
And they're not afraid to use all the tools at their disposal.
No.
Companies operating on the island can no longer afford to take a passive approach to compliance.
It sounds like the days of simply ticking boxes and going through the motions are over.
Yeah, I think so.
Companies need to step up their game
For sure.
and adopt a much more proactive and robust approach to risk management.
Absolutely. The focus is shifting towards a culture of compliance.
Oh.
It's not just about having a dusty old compliance manual on a shelf somewhere.
Right.
It's about weaving those principles into the very fabric of the organization from top to bottom.
So it's not just a legal obligation.
Right.
It's a fundamental shift in how businesses operate.
Exactly. A strong compliance framework
Yeah.
not only minimizes legal and reputational risks,
Right.
but also strengthens trust and confidence among clients and stakeholders.
Okay.
It's about demonstrating a commitment to doing business the right way.
Okay, so let's say you're a company operating in Jersey right now.
Okay.
What concrete steps can you take to improve your compliance game?
First and foremost, thorough risk assessments are crucial.
Okay.
And not just when you onboard a new client,
All right.
but throughout the entire relationship.
Okay.
Companies need to constantly evaluate the risks associated with their activities.
Yeah.
And tailor their compliance program accordingly.
So it's about moving away from a one-size-fits-all approach
It is.
and taking a more, bespoke risk-based approach.
You got it.
Okay.
But internal controls are just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Companies also need to be incredibly vigilant about their third-party relationships.
Yeah.
Remember that due diligence chain we talked about earlier?
Oh, absolutely.
One weak link can compromise the entire system.
Yeah, for sure.
So thorough due diligence on all partners is essential.
Okay.
Companies need to monitor their activities closely
Right.
and ensure they're upholding the same high standards of compliance.
Uh-huh.
It's about shared responsibility and accountability.
So we're talking about a comprehensive approach
We are?
that covers both internal and external factors.
Yeah.
No stone left unturned.
Exactly. And this isn't a one-time fix either.
Right.
The world of compliance is constantly changing.
Yeah.
So companies need to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay.
They need to be adaptable and willing to evolve their practices as new challenges emerge.
So this DPA really drives home the point that the fight against financial crime requires a joint effort.
It does.
It's bigger than any one company or regulator.
Couldn't agree more.
It demands collaboration and cooperation
It does.
between regulators,
Yes.
law enforcement,
Uh-huh.
financial institutions,
Yeah.
and even the public.
Absolutely. Everyone has a role to play.
Speaking of the public, I'm sure this case has generated a lot of buzz in Jersey.
Oh, I'm sure it has.
What's the overall reaction been?
Well, this is a landmark case for the island, so it's definitely captured the attention of the business community.
Okay.
There's definitely a heightened sense of awareness about the importance of compliance
Right.
and the potential consequences of falling short.
I bet the JFSC is feeling the pressure
Oh, yeah.
to demonstrate that they're serious about protecting Jersey's reputation
Absolutely.
as a well-regulated financial center.
Without a doubt.
This DPA sends a strong message
It does.
that they're not afraid to take decisive action
Right.
against companies that don't meet their obligations.
For sure.
It's a clear statement that Jersey is committed to maintaining a clean and transparent financial sector.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating to consider the potential ripple effects of this case.
It is.
Do you think we'll see a surge in DPAs being issued in other jurisdictions?
It's certainly a possibility.
Okay.
DPAs have gained a lot of traction
Right.
as an effective way to address corporate crime in recent years.
Yeah.
So as regulators around the world face growing pressure
Mm.
to crack down on financial misconduct,
Right.
we might see more countries adopting this approach.
That's definitely a trend worth keeping an eye on.
It is.
This case could very well mark a turning point
Yeah,
in the global fight against financial crime.
it could.
This DPA has really opened our eyes
It has.
to the intricate world of financial compliance.
For sure.
It's much more complex than it might seem on the surface.
It really is.
It's been a fascinating deep dive into a really critical issue
It has.
that affects everyone.
It affects all of us.
And as we delve deeper into the ever-evolving landscape of financial crime prevention,
Right.
one thing is clear.
What's that?
Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
The more we understand the risks and challenges,
Yeah.
the better equipped we'll be to navigate them effectively.
Couldn't agree more.
Absolutely.
The more we understand the risks and the challenges,
Yeah.
the better equipped we'll be to navigate them effectively.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Jersey's first ever DPA.
We have.
It's been a real eye-opener, but I think we're ready to pull out those key takeaways for our listener.
Absolutely. We've gone deep into the Afex case,
Right.
examined its impact on financial compliance,
Uh-huh.
and even touched on the global fight against financial crime.
Yeah.
It's a lot to process.
So much to unpack.
Yeah.
But if our listener had to walk away with just one big takeaway,
Yeah.
what would it be? What's the headline here?
I'd say the biggest lesson is that complacency just won't cut it in today's financial world.
Right.
The risks are too real,
Yeah.
the stakes are incredibly high, and the consequences of not following the rules can be disastrous for a company.
This DPA is a wake-up call, plain and simple.
It is.
It's telling companies they need to be proactive,
Right.
vigilant, and always ready to adapt when it comes to compliance.
Exactly. It's not enough to have a compliance manual gathering dust on a shelf.
Right.
Companies need to create a culture of compliance
Okay.
where doing things ethically and being aware of risks are ingrained in every part of their operations.
It's about living beyond checking boxes
It is.
and embracing a truly holistic approach to managing risk.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
And that means looking at internal controls,
Yeah.
but also being incredibly thorough in assessing and monitoring those third-party relationships.
The Afex case really showed us
It did.
how even partners with good reputations
Right.
can pose serious risks if their own compliance isn't up to par.
It's all about due diligence,
Right.
not just at the beginning of a relationship, but throughout its entire lifespan.
So constantly being on guard,
Yeah.
asking the tough questions,
Yeah.
and
Well-
being willing to walk away from partnerships that don't meet your standards.
You have to.
That takes courage.
It does.
Yeah.
But a strong compliance culture isn't just about avoiding penalties.
Right.
It can actually boost a company's reputation,
Okay.
build trust with clients and stakeholders, and contribute to their long-term success.
So compliance isn't just a cost of doing business.
Right.
It's an investment in doing things the right way
Absolutely.
and creating a sustainable future.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And while this DPA is specific to Jersey,
Right.
it holds valuable lessons for businesses anywhere in the world.
It highlights how interconnected the global financial system is
It-
and how important it is for everyone to work together to fight financial crime.
It really does. And it reminds us that even events that seem isolated can have ripple effects that reach far beyond their initial point of impact.
This DPA has definitely been a wake-up call for many in the industry,
It has.
but it's also an opportunity for positive change, a chance to reset and do better.
It is. It's a chance for companies to take a hard look at their own practices,
Okay.
strengthen their risk management,
Yeah.
and help create a more ethical and resilient financial system for everyone.
And it's a reminder that we all have a role to play
You do.
in protecting the integrity of the financial world.
Absolutely.
From CEOs to everyday investors, we all need to be informed and engaged.
We do.
And-
Absolutely. Understanding the risks and challenges we face
Yeah.
is the first step toward building a more secure and sustainable future for all.
This deep dive has definitely given our listener plenty to ponder.
Lots to think about.
But before we wrap up, I'm curious to get your take on what the future holds for preventing financial crime. What's on the horizon?
That's a great question,
Yeah.
and it's a complex one.
Yeah.
I think we're at a critical turning point.
Okay.
The way technology is evolving so rapidly,
Right.
the increasing complexity of financial transactions,
Yeah.
and how sophisticated criminal networks are becoming,
Mm-hmm.
all of these factors are contributing to a much riskier environment than we've seen before.
So it's a bit of a race against time, right?
It is.
We're constantly trying to stay ahead of the curve as the threats evolve.
Exactly. The key is to remain adaptable,
Okay.
agile, and collaborative in our approach.
Right.
We need to keep learning,
Uh-huh.
keep evolving our strategies,
Yeah.
and share best practices if we're going to effectively counter the ever-changing landscape of financial crime.
This DPA has really highlighted how even a jurisdiction like Jersey,
Right.
which might seem small on the global stage, can
Mhm.
play a significant role in the fight.
It can, it's a powerful reminder that we're all interconnected in this system,
Yeah.
and that taking collective action is absolutely essential to safeguarding the integrity of the financial world. And that taking collective action is absolutely essential to safeguarding the integrity of the financial world.
Well said. We want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Jersey's first ever DPA.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope our listener found it insightful, maybe even a little bit thrilling.
Yeah, fascinating conversation, shedding light on a critical issue that impacts all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We encourage everyone to keep exploring these topics,
Right.
keep asking those tough questions,
Yeah.
and engage in informed discussions about the future of financial crime prevention.
Because knowledge is power, and staying vigilant is key in the world of finance.
Couldn't agree more.
This is The Deep Dive, signing off.